Hello there. Welcome back to another WyattzWorld Extra. It's been a while. Today's video we are going to hop back into the top 10 realm, and it's going to be the top 10 TV shows that I have seen throughout my life. Now this is every genre possible. There's comedy, there's serious, there's everything. Like, this is me saying if I had to make a list of 10 TV shows that I could only watch for the remainder of my living existence, it would be this exact list. Before we hop into this video, head over to gfuel.com, use code WyattzWorld, save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products. Let's get into the top 10. So, starting off at number 10, rest in peace Bob Saget, we got Full House. This is a classic. It's like the first TV show I can ever remember like religiously watching as a kid, because you didn't have to be an adult to understand it. Now, as a kid, normally when you see a TV show that's not a cartoon, you're really disinterested immediately. But this show had kids in it. The kids were like the main characters. Relatable issues that we had, it clicked with us well, and the characters were all funny or good. Everybody played their roles perfectly in it, is basically what I'm saying. I still watch it from time to time. My mom used to buy seasons for me every single year, so I have like 1 through, I don't know how many of them, but it's also on a streaming platform and probably 3,000 other things. Oldie but a goodie. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. Fuller House isn't nearly as good, but it's the same concept. Big house, family, stupid simple problems. I'll take it at number 10. Moving on to number 9, we've got one of my favorite shows, but it was very short-lived and it was very stupid. It's called Blue Mountain State. If you haven't heard of it yet, it's basically American Pie, except it's a TV show. It's about a football team, a good football team, and all the players live in a house and they're partying, doing drugs, drinking, getting into trouble. Each episode's a different stupid little story. But if you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely worth the watch, and there's a movie for it too. Not sure where you can watch the series anymore, maybe on Amazon, but I just bought the full thing for $10 at Walmart on DVD. Highly recommend it. Terrible language, however, if you watch me, that's something that you're obviously not bothered by. Blue Mountain State at number 9. Moving on to number 8, we've got another comedy. It's called The Ranch. If you haven't heard of this show, it's on Netflix still. It's done. There's only 8 parts of it, but it is probably one of the funniest shows I think I've ever seen. Now, the reason I like it so much is because it's basically a spin-off of that 70s show. Like, not really, but Hyde and Kelso are the main characters in this show. They live on a ranch, drinking, doing drugs, getting into relationship problems. It's just a sitcom comedy show. Unfortunately, after like season 3 or 4, Danny Masterson had to leave the show, and then it did go on, but eventually ended after 8 parts like I previously mentioned. However, the comedy is dirty, and it gets funnier every time I watch it. I definitely go through it like once a year. Recommend The Ranch at number 8. Also, Sam Elliott is the dad in this show, and if you don't know who he is, he's basically the cowboy in any Western ever. Fucking hilarious. He also directs the show. Moving on to number 7, we've got Stranger Things. Yes, very, very good show. I watched it once right when it came out. Didn't really give it a fair chance, but last year I re-entered it. Gave it an honest shot. It's a very good show. Definitely not a comedy for anybody who's wondering. Maybe it's because I love the 80s so much and that's why I connect with it, but it's a show that's set in the 80s. It's about 4 kids who are like, I don't know, 14 years old. They end up meeting another kid their age who ends up having like these superpowers. The government is chasing this kid because they don't want other people to see it. The kids try to keep the kid away from the government. They end up finding out a bunch of weird fucking secrets. I don't want to give away too much, but there's monsters, a second dimension. Plus, it also has like the greatest soundtrack ever. I'll take Stranger Things at number 7. Moving on to number 6, we've got That 70s Show. If you haven't seen this show, I just simply don't believe you. It's still aired on every single day at some point. Says it in the title. It takes place in the 70s. It's all about the 70s. They dress like the 70s. The cars are the 70s. Everything is the 70s. It's super cool to watch. It's super funny. Kids are always getting into trouble, smoking pot. They're in school, dealing with drama. Classic sitcom, man. I would say that was the show that came right after Full House for me to get into as a kid, because you're able to. The comedy in it is unreal. Really makes you want to be alive back then, man, and I can't do it, and it makes me mad every single day that I think about it. But from what my mom has told me, basically everything in this show, according to style and how things were, is 100% accurate, so it's awesome. That 70s Show at number 6. Moving on to number 5, we've got Prison Break, one of the all-time greats. It definitely should have ended after season 1 because as time went on, they just got more and more ridiculous and unbelievable. Like, how many prisons can you fucking break out of? But the show was just directed and set up and written masterfully. Although Michael Rappaport's in it, it's fucking weird. But the premise as to how the show starts, the first season's the best season of television I've ever watched, by the way. Michael Scofield's brother gets put in prison. That's the main character. His brother is framed for murder. He's gonna get executed, so Michael intentionally gets in prison to break his brother out from the inside. Think that tells you enough? Super suspenseful. Very, very intense show that will have you on the edge of your seat basically every single episode, and it will have you roped in instantly. Used to be on Netflix. Pretty sure they took it off because much like every other TV show, they brought it back for a 5th season like 10 years after it ended. So it's on whatever streaming network that would be on. Moving on to number 4, we've got one of the most popular sitcoms ever. It is a great show, but it's not the greatest TV show ever. Give it a rest. The Office. I have it at number 4 because, yeah, it's top 5. But people who, like, see it and they go, we gotta watch The Office every chance they get, you're fucking dumb. Great TV show. Have I watched it front to back 10 times? Yes. Humor, non-stop funny. You fall in love with the characters. Every time you watch it, you pick up on more and more humor. But I don't need to drop everything I'm doing and sprint to the TV every time I hear that fucking dun 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 dun, whatever that intro is, the fucking nursery rhyme. For those who are unfamiliar with The Office and you guys are wondering if you should actually give it a shot, my answer is 100%. It's basically a camera crew making a documentary inside a workplace. Obviously fake, but fucking hilarious. Moving on to number 3, we've got Dexter. Oh, fantastic show. Still haven't seen season 9. Like every other show, they brought it back fucking 10 years after it ended, but it is amazing. For anybody wondering what Dexter is, kind of comedic, definitely not the focal point of the show, though it's a drama. Dexter is a serial killer, but a good serial killer because he only kills other serial killers, rapists, child molesters, people like that. But he's also a forensic detective, and a lot of the times he's investigating basically his own crimes, it seems like. Constantly on the brink of being caught. I won't reveal if he does or not. That rhymed and it shouldn't have. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Dexter at number 3. Number 2, we've got Friday Night Lights. This might be the greatest story of a TV show you've ever watched, especially if you love football, but you don't need to like football to like the show. Yes, it is a main focus of it, but it's not like, you know, the entire show takes place on a fucking football field. That's not the case at all. Majority of it doesn't. Majority is in high school, in the people's houses, out in the town, in bars. The TV show is about a head coach named Eric Taylor, the greatest high school football coach ever. Coaches a high school football team called the Dillon Panthers in Texas, which high school football is huge there. And it branches off, showing stories of his life, all of his players' lives. From what I've heard, All-American was basically inspired by this show. And yes, is this show connected to the movie? In a way, it is. But it's a story rewritten. It's a quarterback getting hurt, not a running back. And honestly, I think the movie fucking sucks. TV show is impeccable. Friday Night Lights at number 2. And number 1, we've got Psych. This clearly my favorite show of all time. It's a comedy, it's a detective show. Every episode's a new story. Obviously, they cross-reference other episodes, but it's not like you need to actively be watching every episode to understand the story. That's not the case at all. Characters are the same, but the story never is, really, unless they're connecting. Basically a purely crime comedy. The two you see on the front, their names are Sean and Gus. Sean, the guy on the left, he is a fake detective. He has everybody convinced that he's real, but he's not. He's just super hyper observant. And the only people that know he's not a real psychic are his dad, because his dad taught him everything he knows, and his friend Gus, who's on the right in the picture. I can't really say much more about the show because, like I said, it's not one big story. It's just every episode's a new mystery they have to solve. But to me, I think it's the funniest show I've ever seen. I don't know why. I connected with it instantly, and it will always remain my favorite. They make movies about it all the time, but I don't think the movies are as good as the show because, well, the show ended 10 years ago. Alright guys, and that is going to be all for my top 10 TV shows ever. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, you already know what to do. Comment, like, subscribe, turn that bell on. I do my absolute best to post on this channel as often as I can. This video was a recommendation, so keep them coming. I do read the comments. However, with all that stuff being said, I'm going to hop off and get this shit edited so you guys can watch it on time. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, and as always, I will see you in the next video.